for what you don't know, you need to make up for in extreme work ethic, but you're only going to be as good as you allow yourself to be. And it takes time. Be patient. Some of the worst mistakes I've made, I say this all the time, but some of the worst mistakes I've ever made in this field were genuinely just because I was rushing and I wasn't giving the problem the time that it deserves. When I recognized, hey, this sucks, I'm miserable, but like I was bound and determined. I'm like, I gotta catch up to those guys. I gotta get competitive. Like no matter who I was working with, it's like, well, if you don't want to teach me, that's okay. I'm gonna pay attention and take what I need. And I'm going to try to learn on my own time. If it's a big problem, if you are overwhelmed, you open up a door, it's full of spaghetti, you know what I mean? Like full of wire spaghetti. If it's big, make it smaller. An aha moment for me that I had was this guy named Eric was showing me a defrost timer and like the layout of the wiring on that. And he was like, man, this looks like a lot, but in the end, it's all just switches and loads, normally open, normally closed. It's all just like everything's a switch on another switch on a load on another switch. And that was
what clicked for me when I figured out things were switches.
Everything. I was like, oh my gosh, I understand. It was like the Matrix. I was like, normally closed, no problem.
Hola, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Reliable Trades podcast. I'm your host, Adrian, and I'm an HVAC business owner here in South Texas. I do a little bit of content creation and things of that nature online. On this podcast, we interview a lot of tradespeople from many different trades, business owners, people in manufacturing, people in software companies, new technicians, older technicians, people that start at 18, 16 even, and people that start in their 40s and 50s. So plenty of good conversations to be had with good people and a lot of good stories that maybe you would relate to. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple Podcast, any other location, please leave us a review. We hope to earn those 5 stars. And I really have fun doing this podcast. I appreciate everybody that watches or listens and makes this what it is. And don't forget to check out HVAC Nights every Thursday night. Me and Jake host a live podcast weekly. And you can also check out merch from my store, the HVAC Nights, the nightwear, any of that at reliablehvacr.net. I also want to thank our sponsors that help keep this thing going. Jobber is our favorite CRM. I've tried different ones until finding Jobber that kind of controls the chaos that it is running a business and still being in the field and trying to get all the billing, quoting, submitting everything that you need to do outside of the field. And with Jobber, we do our maintenance contracts, we do our invoicing, our quoting, following up with customers to get reviews. That has helped our business a lot. And it offers website building and a whole bunch of AI features now baked in, and you can also do add-ons if you have any other software that you want, because they do work with a lot of marketing tools and things, AI receptionists and things like that. So check out Jobber for yourself, see if it helps your business. You get a 2-week free trial and a special discount if you use the link down below. Vito Pro Pack is also a supporter, and I can tell you right now, even though I see a bunch of competitors coming into the field, they are still hands down the best tool bags that you can buy. They are an investment, I understand that, but once you try one, like I did back during COVID, you won't want to use any other tool bag. And the thing is, they have so many products now that you can find the one that is perfect for you. So make sure to check out Vito Pro Pack at your supply house or go to vitopropack.com. True Tech Tools has a lot of their stuff as well. Go check out their website to make sure that you can find the perfect bag for yourself. You won't regret it. And if you guys run your own business, have you heard of CallRail? They are a call tracking service to help you with marketing needs. One of the things that I've heard a lot of is how to get customers, how to get your name out when you're just starting your business. Call tracking and marketing is a big deal, and it's helped us get our name out. And they also introduced this voice assist to help small businesses out when you can't hire or afford to hire a receptionist or even an office space to have this receptionist. So with CallRail in place, they can not only track your calls and tell you what advertisements you're using work or don't work, so you know where to spend your money, backed by data and analytics. And if you're not online you don't exist in today's world. But they also do this voice assist receptionist that can answer the calls whether you're off, your after hours, weekends with your family, holidays, whatever it is, you're on vacation, you want to take some time off, you still need someone to answer the phone. And in my opinion, in our experience, it's actually helped weed out the good customers from the bad and, spam type of calls that we get. It actually does work. So if you guys want to check it out for yourself, make sure to check out callrail.com. I'll leave a link where you can get a free trial and try out either tracking or the voice assist for yourself and see if you like it and if you can implement it in your business. But trust me, it's going to help you guys quite a bit. Local HQ has been a big help in our marketing and SEO. So they have built our website, they have built our searchability, they have built our Google business profile. And without that, I don't think our phone honestly would have been ringing off the hook the way it is right now. We look professional, everything's in place for customers to find us online, and that is thanks to Local HQ. They are a marketing company that is tailored to the trade. So if you want more information, check out the link below and mention me or the Reliable Trades podcast and get 2 months of SEO for free.
All right, we got the HVACR dads on the show today. What is up, guys?
What's going on? How you doing, Adrian?
I'm better now. It was very hectic up until maybe a week ago. We've been slammed with work. We've hired 3 guys and still can't keep up, but we're catching up finally, I think. But I'm in the process of onboarding another account, so I'm like, guys, catch up because you're gonna get more work very soon. It's just been that kind of year for us, and it's like me and myself. I'll get into kind of introducing you guys in a minute. Me and myself, business owner, technician, trainer, it's just a lot of running around, still running calls and stuff like that. So it's been hectic. It's what I tell people is it's a whole other thing to be a business owner, because I've talked with other guys, and I love seeing the ambition and everybody trying to get into owning a business, running. They want to do their own thing. Like I love seeing that, because entrepreneurship, it's the best feeling, right? But it's not for everybody. So I'm getting hit hard with that this year, like, a whole different kind of stress, because I'm taking over basically, and it's just like more responsibility, right? That's something I never wanted, but here we are.
Yeah.
How long have you guys been in the trade? And we'll get into kind of some of the stuff that you guys got going on.
Sorry, yeah.
Sorry.
Pause and let Shawnee boy talk. Yeah, no. So I've been in the trade for 11 years. Started in residential, did residential for 6 years, and then made the move into commercial.
So I just wanted to gauge,
Yeah.
like, if you guys were newer or you've been in this for a while. So 11 years is up there now. So Matt, have you been doing the similar?
So yeah, Sean has a couple years on me, but I'm coming up on 9 years. Sean, yeah.
Oops,
Who
sorry.
is older? Because you guys are twins. For anybody listening, I got twins on the show right now. Who's older?
See those seconds,
Do you hold that over him?
Sometimes he's got to be reminded a couple of times, it happens,
Man.
Also, really quick, because I kind of wanted to get into a few things before we got into the whole thick of HVAC and everything. So Sean's a little bit older. We got that out of the way. You guys are musicians too, aren't you guys?
Yeah. Sean is a bass player, plays a bass guitar, and then I play the electric guitar, and we play some music. So I'm in a band. Sean, you're doing stuff with your church, like you're doing like worship for your church and stuff like that. I'm involved in a kind of like a heavy music project. So
that's awesome. So my kid has been asking for an electric guitar specifically for Christmas for a while now. So my dad went ahead and got that. Music is a big part of my family too. So I kind of wanted to just start off with that a little bit.
yeah,
Awesome.
Sean, my brother, plays bass, and he's incredible at it, because I had moved out, and then he picked that up later, or he was like learning it when I was there, when he was a kid, because we're what are we? I'm 87, he's 90. We're like 7 years apart, right? So it's kind of a gap, right? And first of all, my dad plays guitar, so he played acoustic a lot around when I was small, right? And he's the reason I got a guitar. I couldn't sit still. I couldn't learn. So, it just wasn't for me. And then my brother picked it up. So he picked up bass, and I heard him riffing, when I would go over and stuff. I'm like, damn, dude, you're good. So he's the one that actually works with us, right? So he has a different mind. He can pick things up really quickly. He's very good, like at the guitar. He's the one that I always say that is very meticulous with, how he works. Like and my dad just mentioned this the other day. He's like, that's why I can't work with him. He wants every little perfect detail, and I just want to get the job done. So always butt heads, right? So my brother plays bass kind of for fun. They kind of got excited that my son wanted to learn. So, we got him a guitar for Christmas. We'll see how that goes. I was like, dude, I'll get you lessons.
Awesome.
I was like, I don't know how to play, but I'll get you some lessons, right? I'll take you to a Guitar Center or something.
That's awesome. That's a really good idea. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Bass is a great instrument, man. It's like there's so many different ways to play. There's so many different styles. You could play a bass and get so many different almost instruments out of it. It's such a versatile instrument.
Yeah, because I listen.
It's so good.
Yeah, because music was a big part of, for me, just getting away from everything, right? You go and put your headphones on, go do something, or I would even play sports and have my headphones on and all that kind of stuff. And I always enjoyed all the little instruments in between. So like the music's not the same without that bass, right? The music's not the same without all those instruments that you hear in the background. And I always liked, kind of picking things apart and just listening to each instrument and kind of enjoying it.
Yeah, for sure.
So how's that band? Because I was going to say my cousins, and a couple of them are working for us now, have been in the band scene. So they play a lot downtown. They have shows all the time.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's really cool. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Music is a big part of our family. Like I have a lot of musicians in the family, and some of them.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Do you like what kind of music does their band play? Like what kind of stuff are they involved in with their scene?
Super heavy metal, like way beyond what that's a lot of my cousins is in that heavy scene, right? So metal and all that kind of stuff, and headbanging, and like I was like, yeah, that's cool. I'm not gonna go out there headbanging myself. Actually, I have a cousin that's working for us right now. Him and his brother were in the same band. They kind of had to put that on hold for a while because one of them moved. But two brothers in the same band, and I thought that was pretty cool.
That's awesome. Me and Sean did that for a long time. The band I'm in now, it's on the heavier side. It's not like the heaviest by all means, but it's more of like
death metal or whatever it's called.
Nah, it's more like a post-hardcore, like early 2000s, like late 90s style, like post-hardcore. You know what I mean?
That's
more like
my favorite. I always say they don't make music like they used to across a lot of genres.
Yeah. You should check us out, man. We're called Plead the Widow's Cause.
I had just came across your page, and I think I had seen somewhere like a photo or something of you, and I was like, oh, I need to check them out, because I've had some guys on here that are musicians, and I go check out their music and stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun outlet. It's nice because I mean, even like our page that we're doing here, like the HVAC ads, and anything you can do to have a creative outlet is just so. Even if that creative outlet is just sitting and listening to music, you know what I mean? Like it's like a freeing kind of release, and it's nice. It's really nice.
And how'd you get into? You just started, Sean. You started with your church then to play with them.
Well, so for the longest time we played together. We started when we were in middle school, and I'm gonna just bring him up now. Our buddy Dave, he's been with us all the way, and we're gonna reference him probably multiple times. So I have to kind of establish who he is. He's our best friend. He was in my wedding. He was in Matt's wedding. We went to middle school together, and we learned music together, and we played, in bands together for the longest time. And we also went to trade school together. He actually works at the company that we work together at now.
Oh, okay.
So he's been with us this whole time. But for the longest time, it was out of high school, like, 19 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. We had a band, Matt, myself, and Dave, and a couple of our buddies, and we played for like 5 years, played a lot of shows. We recorded 3 albums. We had an absolute blast doing it. But, life happens and, people lose interest and think people go their separate ways and we all get busy and we have children and we're trying to advance our careers, and it as you know, Adrian, it can be very difficult to work a job like this that so it can be very unpredictable with the hours and like long nights, and it can be very hard to have other commitments, especially when you want to be good, especially when you want your music to actually be good. It takes a lot of work to build something that sounds good. You're taking so much extra time to craft something. So it's hard. Mostly now, yeah, I serve in my church, and that's mostly where I play.
But that's an awesome way to
yeah,
get
I'm very content with
that outlet, because you still have it. You still get to do that.
Yeah.
Like that's awesome.
Absolutely.
So did you know that another sponsor of the show, Diversitech, is probably in a lot of y'all's vans? They are the umbrella that is Master Care Cleaners, Packard Parts, Hillmore Tools, Fresh Air UV, Swoosh, Quick Sling, Speed Clean, Assurity, and Spin Tools. I have almost something from all of those brands in my van ever since we've started. Packard is a big one for us as far as parts. They usually have something that we would need on a day-to-day basis. So the next time you're replacing parts, maybe look at the name and see if it's one of those. They are your one-stop shop for everything HVAC, and they have you covered for your everyday HVAC needs.
And yeah, I've always said, because even if you guys, because I'm on social media a lot now, right? So whenever you go and see somebody, especially like on TikTok, because that's where I see more of it, because on my Instagram it's just all HVAC now, but my TikTok's a little more diverse. But whenever you see like a famous person, right, somebody that has a lot of followers, like whether it's musician, dancer, anything, you go and dig around a little bit. They've been doing that for like a decade, or they've been doing it for like forever, right? They've been trying and they just didn't give up, and it might have taken 10 years or more, and then they finally have something that goes good for them, and then they blow up. Right? So it's never by accident. It's always like, can you put that hard work into it? And like you said, Sean, like you have to devote everything to something for it to grow or be great, right? There's, and I've said it about myself too. Like that's what I'm realizing this year is I need to take myself out of the field, just a little bit, because I still run calls. Because what has always happened, because every year I have more responsibility. What has always happened is either my business side suffers or my anything else suffers, right? Like you have a balance, right? So either the business suffers or the work suffers or your family time suffers, or like something always suffers when you're trying to devote a lot of time to something to be, great, right? I always wanted to be the best technician, and that's all I had to do for so many years, and I got so good at it. And then I was like, okay, I got to do more business stuff. And it's like, well, either I get behind on calls or I get behind on paperwork. It's like, which one do I want to fall behind on this week, right? That's always a choice.
Paperwork is almost always worse, like almost always worse. Like, and you said you're stepping into like a lot more leadership roles, right? Like you're wearing a lot of hats right now, and there's probably going to be more that you got to wear. Like that alone, I mean, trying to juggle, quality of work versus like, like you're saying, the back end, the logistical stuff that also is like, your foundation, keeping what you're doing afloat. Like that is, it's like an unenviable task, but it's like, look what you're doing. You're building something. And at the same time, you got this podcast, that's absolutely like a creative, like that's creative direction. You get to express yourself on that. And that plus like, being a business owner and running that whole, like that's a different level of commitment and time and sacrifice, so it's definitely hard.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you don't realize it, because I didn't realize it when I got into the field. I was like, I got a job. I clock out at 5, I fixed what I needed to fix, I'm going home, this and that, but my dad, so when I started, I always did the paperwork or but back then it was more actual paper, right? So I didn't have to do much. My dad would write out his invoices and turn them in. Like a lot of it was just like you write it out on the job site, turn it in, all that kind of stuff, and you got paid. A few years into it, everybody went digital. So all my customers went to like some sort of system, right? So I always did the documents. I always did the logos, the business cards. Like every time he came up with like something, he's like, I need something. He's like, I had to figure it out. So I did brochures, designing, a lot of stuff like that. And then I did all the billing and invoicing. So yeah, sometimes he'll get after me. Hey, why hasn't this been turned in or that or whatever? Why are you behind? I'm like, because I keep getting calls. It's like, dude, who else is going to fix this stuff? Right. So, then my brother came in and it relieved some of that. But it was only 3 of us for the longest time. And we had a senior tech come on a few years ago. And now this year we hired 3 basically apprentices. And I'm like, it feels very weird to me because I'm used to going to a job site and then doing the brazing, the electrical, like doing everything. And now I get there and I'm like, you guys don't need me. Right. So I just kind of point out a few things. If they struggle with something, I kind of like give them some advice. And then I'm like, all right, I'm going to go do some paperwork, I guess. I'm going to go check in with customers and I'll be out of your hair because before I just needed help lifting. Now they get to do all the other stuff. So it's a process. It's very weird for me, but that's how it is. But I've always been doing the back end stuff, and it's a lot that goes into it because now I'm doing more customer service, more phone calls, emails. Like it's a lot of stuff. And what I've always said is like your business needs to be able to run without you in it, like in the field and stuff, right? So that's the only way we can grow. And I've been very proud of the guys that we have on because, like you said, this is a very difficult trade no matter what you do. Even if you're just a filter changer, it doesn't matter what you guys do, right? You need to devote and take pride in your work and just give it your all because you can get so much out of it.
Yeah.
Do you feel like having apprentices that are absorbing and learning, willing to work hard, like, and you're saying like, okay, like, you guys don't need me, like I'm going to step aside and do other things that I need to do. Do you find it hard to like let like not that you're not involved, but like step back and really let them run things effectively? You know what I mean? Like, do you feel like it's harder, or is it like something you're still like, it's hard?
No, but for me, it's a quality control thing. I only want things done a certain way. And I came up, which this will kind of segue into how you guys got into it. But when I got into the trade, right, I didn't know anything. And I think I've heard you guys say the same thing. You weren't mechanically inclined. I was the same way. Like I had no other job before this. I used to work at not a trades job. I had a grocery job before this. That was like maybe like a year in. And I felt like I was going nowhere. And I kept getting denied raises, denied this, denied that. And I was the kid running the freaking grocery section of this Sam's Club. And I'm like, how are you complaining about me? You're taking all the guys away from me and I'm running the grocery section by myself, dealing with customers, doing all the work that needs to be done. How am I not doing enough? So I was so happy to be like, you know what? Here's my 2 weeks. I'm going to go work for my dad. See you guys. Right. That was the best for me. So I knew that I had a better career in the trades, just having that experience there. So, when I got into it, I worked for my dad for, the hot side and just, getting a check, helping him build it up, helping him do the logos, like all that kind of stuff. That was also my creative outlet at that point because I was always into photography and doodling and all that kind of sketching, all that kind of stuff. I actually came up with our logos, doodling in class in my college classes because I didn't like to pay attention. So a lot of that was worth it at the end because I got to, design what I wanted, but didn't pay attention in class. But, that's a whole other thing. So like when I got into it and I made the switch to HVAC, I had to ride with, other people because I didn't know HVAC. My dad didn't know HVAC, right? And you can't tell the senior techs what to do, right? Because I was going to trade school and I was learning these things and I'm like, this is the way you do it, or that's the way you're supposed to do it, or you're not doing it right was a lot of, where's the nitrogen? Where's your micron gauge? All these other things. Yeah. It was just like, put it on for 30 minutes and then we'll do it,
Back in my day, that was 2 cigarette breaks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they were just like, well, deal with the consequences or you don't even get called back, right? The installers install and then the service guys have to deal with it, right?
Yeah.
So like I was just like, okay, I can't tell them anything because they're gonna give me a hard time, but when I got my own calls, I was gonna take a little bit longer and do things the right way, bring up my nitrogen, bring up everything because I do rooftop work only. So I'm bringing up my whole van at times, right, to do some of these repairs. And it's like, well, that's gonna, when I get my own calls, that's what's gonna happen, and that's what did happen. And it was just a learning experience, right? You get in there, you gotta deal with different scenarios, different situations, and all that. I just always wanted to take, or it was a lot of my dad that and I don't think I give him enough credit. Like all the work ethic, all the way that he would think about the job, right? The being creative. I always say the one of the best parts of this trade is you get to be creative, right? You're in a jam. It's not always textbook. Sometimes you got to figure out things, and that's what I like about it: problem solving, all that kind of stuff. So, when I got into it, that's what I saw a lot of. I had to, do my own thing when I got my chance to do my own calls. Shad, how did you get into it? Because you said you got into it first.
So I kind of didn't really have any direction. Like I was playing music a lot. We were doing the band, and I was like, I just want to have something that I can, I know I'm always going to have work, And I was looking at trade school, and I was like, okay, like, there's a lot of options here, and a lot of these I know about, and I want to do.
Did someone like tell you to look at trades, or did you find that on your own somehow?
I found it on my own. I was already kind of aware. I knew some people who did trades, and I just wasn't opposed to it. I was more just like, it started out as just kind of being like, all right, well, I know I need to provide for myself in this world, so I'm looking at like,
I wanted to be a professional basketball player my whole life, and then I had to. Well, I got a pretty bad injury, and I was like, okay, maybe I got to get like a real job.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to be I wanted to be a professional heavy metal bass player.
Yeah.
But that's not realistic, and I'm going down the list of things to do, and I'm like, all right, well, I don't want to be an auto mechanic. I don't want to work on diesel engines. I don't want to be an electrician. Not really. I was like, I don't want to be, a plumber. I don't want to be a pharmacist. I don't want to cut hair. What do I know the least about? HVAC. I know nothing about this at all. So I was like, let me just do the thing I know nothing about.
But it's everywhere.
And myself, yeah, it's everything. Well, that was my thing. I was like, society runs. But yeah, like my whole thing was like society runs on refrigeration at least, and people need to be warm, people need to be comfortable. I was like, so there's always going to be work, right? And that was my, without knowing anything about it, that was my rationale. And myself and my aforementioned buddy Dave, we decided to go together. He's a manager we have, I don't know if you guys have him in Texas, Wawa. You know what Wawa is?
I've heard of it.
So we
have it.
He was a manager at Wawa.
Buc-ee's.
No,
Buc-ee's,
Sean,
yes.
yeah. All right. Buc-ee's is, all right, we're going to have to, all right, this next segment is Buc-ee's.
We interrupt
great.
your regular programming.
Dude, I got to go to Buc-ee's not too long ago, like on a trip with my friends, and we drove down to Tennessee to play some shows like last year, and it was it was like a truck stop mixed with like there was like showers, it was merch, they had like restaurants, their sandwiches were good. It was like
they got
mixing it like a
restaurant in the middle, cooking your food.
Yeah. Dude, there's nothing like Buc-ee's, man. And then they got that big bronzed beaver out front.
I was amazed too, because I just recently, got to my first one a few years ago as well. I was like, oh, I get the hype now. It's crazy, but it gets super packed, and a lot of people go to that place.
Yeah, it's like the mecca for truck drivers.
It's like a theme park people go to. They just go to shop, get their Buc-ee whatever, because there's so many Buc-ee branded things in there. They go
their beaver nuggets.
My girlfriend likes to get, or her family too. They like to get those. They do the theme shirts for every like holiday or seasons, right? They have the special shirts every year. So the kids will get those, and we make them wear them for the holidays.
I should have worn it. My neighbor actually moved to Texas, and he was a good friend of ours. His family, we were close to this family. They sent us Buc-ee's shirts.
Yeah.
All the house I have on, we all have Buc-ee's shirts.
That's great.
So something that I've been doing more now as we expand and hire people is training. Something that I've dealt with in the past is dealing with customers and their weird complaints. Where we can get help on those two fronts is actually the software called LiveSwitch. Now, LiveSwitch actually helped a lot of big sporting events. So they have a very capable system in place to where they handle a lot of things during COVID for your NBA, NFL, WWE. Whenever they had those virtual fans, that was LiveSwitch. They also helped with the 911 call where they can have these video calls and different ways of phoning in an emergency. And now they are helping out home service businesses because the guy that actually runs it ran a home service business himself and actually knows the difficulties and tasks as a business owner, employees, and all that comes with it. You need something that does more than just a FaceTime call. With LiveSwitch, you can do these video calls to any device that has a browser built in, and it is just a link that the customer or one of your technicians clicks on. Once you click on that link, you get end-to-end video. So if you're interested and you want to check out LiveSwitch for yourself, make sure to check out the link down below. And I think this is a game changer. And there's so much other things that I just have not even scratched the surface on. It has a lot of AI built into it. It is just meant to make this experience with your employees and technicians or your customers seamless and just a better experience for both sides.
Anyway, getting back to, you're saying Wawa, but Wawa's pretty good, but Buc-ee's is, I dragged my buddy Dave out, and weeks in, we were just like, this is the best thing ever. Like, this is so fun. Like, this is so interesting. Thermodynamics, we're learning how to braze, we're learning basic electrical. And it just became this gateway into like this larger, very niche community and world that we've been in. Like Dave and I have been in it for about the same amount of time, and Matt kind of came in a couple of years after when he saw how much fun we were having. We were doing a lot of side work back then. We probably shouldn't have been, but we were.
Was that trade school or on the job?
At the time, I was in a criminal justice course at Rowan University, and I was like, enjoying it, and I was like, I can see a future here because I wanted to help people, and I was drifting more towards like working with like juvenile delinquents and stuff like that. That was not like anything serious yet, but it was like where my interests were. And during that time, Sean and our friend Dave they'd succeeded in getting quite a lot of side work, which is crazy for how early it was in our careers. So, but I would always come with them and basically just, do the busy work, like haul trash, whatever. And I'd be like, I remember thinking like, this is like, I'm hanging with my friends, but like, I can see like where like, hey, these guys are picking up stuff kind of quick, and they're showing like, they're basically students themselves, but they're showing me what they knew or what they'd picked up. And I just remember thinking like, okay, well, at least I could always maybe do this, you know what I mean? Like if things fall through. And then like, I remember like not too soon after, I was sitting down with one of my professors, and he was like, hey, if this is really something you want to do, like just stop going to college and just get a job doing it now, because this isn't going to help you get anywhere, and you're just going to incur more debt. And he said that, and I was like, okay, I don't think college is inherently like a scam. I think it depends on like the institution is like hungry for people. You know what I mean? Like they need to fill their seats. They need to do their classes.
Yeah.
I think,
but it's also very different from like what it used to be because of the careers, right? What is in demand now versus what was in demand at that time.
You're right. The whole thing's flipped on its head, and like it can be used well. It can be used to further a career. But where I was going, that was sort of my moment where I was like, I'm wasting my time. And it hurt to hear, but I was grateful that he said that. I took a little time off and like was working. I was working at a factory. I'd been married for a little bit at that point, and we realized that my wife was pregnant, and I'm like doing, 50-hour weeks at a factory. And I'm like, I remember going up to one of the guys I worked with, and I was like, he was so excited. He's like, oh, I just got a raise, man. I just got a raise. I've been here, 20 years. This is great. And I'm like, sick, man. How much you making? And he goes, $17.50. And I was like, all right, I got to get out of here. Like, I remember that was the moment I was like, that brother's scraping the ceiling with his claws, and I got to get out. I went to GCIT, which is a trade school in our area, I took their 9-month night class with a buddy of mine, and I did that for 9 months. It was 3 days a week for 9 months. And then the month before I was out of there, I was working for a local company. And so that, it was a couple years late, but started doing installs over there. So that was and I did that for, a few months, made a jump somewhere else. And it's just, it's kind of a very long story, but we didn't we didn't work together at a company for quite a while.
Sean, did you do trade school or just you jumped into it? You did trade?
Yeah, so I did trade school. I went to a different trade school. I went to Penco Tech in Blackwood, New Jersey.
Y'all went to both
it was good
schools?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh wow. Because I was gonna say my brother went to the same school I went to.
Well, I was gonna say at the point that I realized that this was the best choice for me, I was like, I'm past going to school, like how you were. I was I'm already working. I had a kid on the way. I was my wife was working. I'm like, and I thought things. Oh, dude, I think everything I learned with heating was theoretical. They're like, yeah, you can braze. That's it. I don't even think I touched the switch. You know what I mean? It was it was half decent. It was good book learning, but I didn't there was a heavy limit on how much practical stuff we got into. You know what I mean? We did a ton of electrical work physically. That was all stuff I had to learn in the field.
Did you have a different experience, Sean?
Yeah. What we do has a lab, so I did a lot of hands-on wiring. They actually had us build a refrigerator. So we kind of got to see, myself and my buddy, we built one. I learned how to braze. I learned that if you try and run evacuation to a system that has nitrogen in it, oil is going to go everywhere. But it was a great experience. Some guys kind of were walking out of there oh, I'm not really learning anything, but I felt like I learned a lot. It's you kind of get out of it what you put into it, and a lot of those guys today to my knowledge, are not in the field,
Yeah. So I went to trade school too, and I had a little bit of both experiences because you can sit in the back of the class, sit in the back of the group and just not do anything, right? Because they got so many kids to teach. Every now and then, yeah, you got to do your own thing like brazing or something like that. But if you're not volunteering or asking questions or trying to learn, you don't get anything out of it. It's like you said, it's what you put into it. Same thing with the trade, with work, anything else in life. But I had that too. I was real nonchalant about it in the back. Didn't want to be in the front. Then I was like, you know what? I started noticing all the kids in the front, right? They would specifically go jump and sit in the front and talk ask all the questions, talk about everything with the teachers and all that. So then when I went back for another semester or whatever year it was, because mine was a 2-year program, but the one semester is your basic. So I had to get, English, math, all that. But when I went back for the next semester, I was I'm going to start sitting in the front, right? I want to be in front of everything. And then when we did the labs, I went to the front. I got into, the crowd that was more, volunteering and trying hands-on and all that. I got called to do some stuff, right? And I got embarrassed in front of the class too. I couldn't hook up some of my, we used an old, it was to weigh in refrigerant, but it was that cylinder thing. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, because that's what they had in our class. And I guess,
I know what you're talking about.
Right. You would use it to weigh in or put in your refrigerant. I didn't know how to use that thing. They called me to do it. I'm like, sure, I'll do it. And got a good laugh out of it, but that's how you learn, right? You put hands on it, you try it out, you know what not to do for next time. And a lot of that stuff is you gotta try. So yeah, I had both experiences where I didn't try and where I did, and then I benefited more. I was more confident. I would do most of the lead work when we had these little projects, because they would have us pump down the system and do all this stuff and work on walk-in boxes. So we had a good experience. But you got to try. You got to apply yourself. Because if you just sit in the back, you just listen, you just do the textbook stuff, it's a whole different world when you get out in the field.
It absolutely is. And when I first when I graduated trade school, I thought I was a rock star. I was like, I'm all right, ready to run calls, this and this. I get a job as a installer and I get thrown in and I'm like, what? I'm like in a crawl space. I'm like, what on earth is going on? I'm like, I don't know anything. Like, this is crazy,
You
I'm
gotta,
like, they're like, here, kid, knock this duct together. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm like, myself,
So,
what's going on?
if you can try,
yeah.
you'll learn. But that's why I tell the kids coming in, because sometimes I see some kids that are like, they think they know everything, and it's like you gotta be confident, not cocky, because that'll get you in trouble.
Yeah. Confident to try, but teachable, and nobody's going to want to teach you anything if you're not supplementing your lack of knowledge for just running through a wall for everybody. You need to be, anything for what you don't know, you need to make up for in extreme work ethic, and that's what makes the older guys want to teach you at all. Cause they're at the best. When you're first starting out, you're an inconvenience because you don't even know what you should be doing. At best, if at worst, you're a hindrance to getting the job done because all they're concerned about is getting the job.
I'm guilty of that. I would leave my brother behind because I'm like, yeah, he's just going to slow me down. I've had that before. Now I try to train.
And that's one thing too now is, where we're at now at the company that we're at, we're fortunate enough to where they entrust us with that, where we have guys who are more on the service side now. We've been on the service side for a long time now, but we have guys that train with us quite frequently. And, the thing that gets me is we have a lot of really, really good young guys, and some of them are just exceptional, especially for how short they've been in the field with how much they pick up, how much they understand. And you want everyone to have that same love for this field that you do. And I would find myself giving these guys, especially guys who didn't seem to be into it, right? I would find myself giving them these pep talks and trying to like inspire them to love the field. And about halfway through, I'd be like, what am I doing? Like, this guy doesn't even want to be here. You know what I mean? Like, I got to let him either find his love for it, or if he doesn't want to be here, he's not going to like it. Because the one thing about HVAC and refrigeration is I genuinely believe that you have to love this field to be any somewhat good at it. You really have to love it because you don't to something like this naturally if you don't like it.
I will say Jeff Jaden, I'm sure you guys know that.
Oh,
guy,
yeah.
Made a post one time, and I think he reposted it a few times. He's like, if you don't love this trade, you don't love what you do, get out. And he was just like, I'm being blunt because you're gonna hate it the rest of your life.
And shout out Jeff Dem, man. He makes some quality installs. I love seeing his. God, that is
he set the bar, I think, way too high.
I was like, I remember seeing it. Dude, I saw one of his installs. It was like a boiler. It was a boiler or something in an attic. And that's what I said. I was like, diamond plate, LEDs. Like, I was like, what? And I'm looking at like my own perfectly acceptable install, and I'm like,
so I love Jeff, and I talk to him, and I love his work, but I have to remind people that is not what you're supposed to do on a day-to-day. That is his own outlet. That is his own mind going crazy. That is the way he wants to do it. But you are perfectly fine just doing it the way you've been like taught, or like, just getting better at what you do in your own way. Cause like, I was talking about goals on HVAC nights, because I was saying you can set these little goals, right? And then just always be better every day, right? Even if it's like 1%, because at the end of the year, that's going to add up and you're going to be a better technician. Just always be better, right? Now, when you start comparing yourself to these guys, Jeff or any other great installer, you're going to drive yourself nuts because you're not going to be there at year 1, year 2, whatever, right? He's been doing it a long time now.
He's like an artisan, you know what I mean? Like, it's like artisan installs by Jeff. They set the bar like through the roof for at least quality and like look at like how everything looks. And it's like, oh my gosh, like the way they like everything's just like the stuff that's, pitched is pitched. Like that needs to be pitched is pitched. The stuff that's not is just, like, he's got the unistrut on the wall, just like everything's all together. Like it scratches the itch, you know what I mean?
So like when I started, because, I started my page, well after I had been in the trade for a while. So before social media, I would always try to be like that. Like, not, I don't have diamond plate or anything in my installs. I really got into like bending and making tube expanding, right? The swedges and all that. I had the old flaring block where I would do the tube expanding and flaring by hand. I'm surprised I don't have carpal tunnel at this point, but you know, I was always very, and that's what my dad loved. And I'm like, I wanted to like not outdo everybody, but like I wanted to show everybody that I was, good at what I did. And I would go for those straight, line sets, go for those bends, do all that kind of stuff. And it was cool to see Jeff do it and then kind of make it like the standard. Cause now you see Garrett, G-Tor HVAC. You see, there was another one that I just spoke to, TD HVAC, I believe. There's so many guys now. They're kids that's what they're starting, right? They're a few years in, 2 years in, 3 years in, and they're already doing these kinds of installs. So it's great to see. It's great that there's a standard set now. Everybody does really good installs, a whole lot better than what I would see out in the field before. And that's why I've always said also that this trade, you just need a little bit of effort. And that's a good and bad thing, right? That's good for you because you can stand out, but that's bad for the industry because, the installs that I've come across or the work that I go behind still to this day is just it's not up to par, right? So if you put that effort in, try a little bit harder, you're going to be a really good technician out in the field, install, service, whatever it is that you do. There's a lot to unpack when you get into HVAC. I mean, there's so many things that you have to do inside. You mentioned plumbing, electrician, that's all wrapped into what we do. I went to a job site with them. We were fixing like the doors for the restaurant, like the outside doors, right? And then we were working on the walk-in. Then we jumped to the ice machine and then a make line cooler, right? There's so many different things that you have to work on and you see, especially in refrigeration, and you're just problem solving all day. It's like, what problem do we have here? It's never the same. It's never the same equipment. And that is like, my satisfaction is getting to work on those things and being the one to fix them. Can't tell you how many older guys that I come behind and they can't figure something out. They want to sell them something and I go in there and it's like, just stuff that they should know. And you got to solve it. It's the best, feeling, right? And that's how we build our reputation. And we have what we have now. We've been doing this 19 years and we have a good reputation. We have a good company now. And it's like, we're getting a lot of work now just based on that.
That's awesome. Nothing like good word of mouth and like trust between like clients. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, hey, this guy came and fixed this, and I know they stand by their work and I know you can trust what they say. Especially like if it's coming from the word of someone like that they trust, you know what I mean? It goes so far. That's awesome. Because you're expanding so much and you have to hire, you got to bring on new people. You mentioned that you're onboarding, especially now, which would be normally considered the off season in like residential, but in commercial, especially refrigeration, nothing ever stops for us. Right. So, you're onboarding new people, and good technicians are hard enough to find, but
tell me about it.
Younger people, even more so in the, that next generation of people who are teachable, genuinely already are interested in this trade, want to get good at it. Do you find yourself having, how long is your list for hiring, and what kind of qualities do you look for in somebody who's really just coming into the trade for the first time? How do they sell themselves to you?
So we've been fortunate enough to just, find some younger people that, because originally I wanted to go, because I even went to the college that I went to, which was a community college, and now it's a full-blown college. And they have which I'm excited for. They actually have like these apprenticeship programs now. And I went and I was actually trying to get looking into it to see if we could be that kind of company. Because that was always, or not always, but like in the past few years, that was my goal. I was like, I don't really want a big company. We want to be everywhere. We want to be in these, we want to be known and be in these bigger, restaurant chains that we have. But I really don't want like 20 trucks. I don't want anything crazy. Like that's too much. When I talk about quality control and managing, like that's too much. So my thought process was, let's try this out. Let's see if we can get people out of school, train them, because the number one complaint I hear is nobody hires me because I don't have experience, right? That's always like the hard part. And I hate hearing that, because like, why won't you at least give them a chance, right? If they want to do it, they're willing to do it. Because I have guys that would come up to me after doing my social media and all that, because they would see me, and a lot of them were local, and they're like, I can't tell you how many offers I had. Can I just ride with you for free? I'll help you. I'll do this. I was like, they were like, I don't even want to get paid. I just want to learn. And I was like, dude, I would love to, but that's a whole liability issue. And we weren't, ready to take on people at that time. And I looked into it, and we were going to like get into that. But then we found these kids that, some of them were relatives, and they wanted to, one came from nursing. Like I didn't think he was going to last. He's been our best technician. He's been with us almost a year.
Wow. That's awesome.
So when I look at these guys and I have to evaluate, or, we're willing to take a chance, because my dad has always had this thought, mindset, because he did this at his previous job. So the company he worked for previously, and I think it's because he was given a chance, and I think he wants to pay it forward. I think that's been his whole thing, because he was an electrician when I was growing up, when I was a kid, and he worked at hospitals. He worked at like all these construction sites and everything. I need to get him on the show, because I don't remember the full story, but he actually like broke his back. He has a huge scar down the side of his spine, and he still did it for however many years, because that's when I was little. So, but the pain that he went through and everything, and he got hurt on the job site. So that took forever to correct. I remember him being bedridden for a long time, and multiple surgeries and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I say, when I get my work ethic from him, that went a long way for me, because I saw what he did. So when he got an opportunity basically to jump to food service, he didn't know anything about food service, but they gave him a chance, just because, again, I don't know if he knew people or just the work ethic or what. So he did all this in-person training. He got up, high in his company. He was technician of the year, because they used to give out awards. Like he did great. And then he was branch manager, and he hated it, because they would always get after him for going out into the field, because he would always go and help the guys in the field, help them in person. And they would call him, why aren't you in this meeting? Why aren't you in this, why aren't you in your office? I'm with so-and-so helping them on a call. And they would get after him. At that company, he also took on like two of his brothers. One did car alarms, and one did odd end jobs, like installing carpet, like whatever job he could find. And now they have careers in HVAC or food service, but mostly HVAC, because he took them in and he taught them everything from the ground up, right? Because they didn't do any of this work kind of work before. So now in our business, that's kind of how we have this outlet too, right? Because his whole thing back then was, if they want to do it, if they have the work ethic, if they try, he's like, I know I can train them. I know I can teach them this stuff. That was always his thing. So that's what we look at now, is like, do they want to do this? What's their work ethic? Are they willing to, or are they asking questions and just, not making the same mistake twice? Because, that's the hard part for me, is letting these guys do it and learn by mistake, or by, not doing things the right way. I've gotten after, when I get after somebody, it's usually a senior tech. I try not to get after the new guys, right? But yeah, as long as they put in the work, man, because the number one thing that, like, my dad has said he's impressed with the kids is they're willing to get under the unit, roll around on the floor. They don't complain about anything that we tell them to do, right? Because they're mostly there, like I said earlier, for like lifting and helping us put things in place until they can actually do the work themselves and we can train them. But, if they do that without any complaints, if they're willing to do all the dirty work, get hands on, they volunteer, hey, I want to do that, I want to do this, go for it. That's always a good sign.
It is. I love that. And it reminds me, like, when I first started out, man, like Sean, like you were saying, it's to, coming in knowing nothing, not having a background in this. It's like, I know, like, and you're talking about, like, what you learn from your dad as far as work ethic. That's the same with us. Like our dad retired almost coming up on about a year ago. Like he started the process of his retirement. Our whole life, he was just out there grinding, being creative, like in how he would set up. Like he would handle like clients, and he for a lot of his career before he got into a management position, he did like he was essentially like a sales rep to he's like the liaison to get medicine into the hands of doctors and things like that. So he would do that, and he'd be the guy who had to get real creative. Like, okay, the doctors all, just as an example, the doctors all meet here at like 6 a.m. before their shift, right? They sit here and have a break. Can I get permission to come in here with coffee at 5:30? You know what I'm saying? Like random crap. It's like that he had to be like real creative. And that was, that translated into other aspects of his job, and just always out, always working when he had to, always helping, people that he was training. And so I think seeing that and seeing how hard he worked and, his work ethic, I really believe that translated, as much as it can to what we do. And like on that note, coming into this trade, not knowing, anything about electric, about plumbing, fitting, heating, anything. I know for me, my whole mindset, I would try to be very intentional about like, okay, I want to be in the most disgusting part of this job. I'm going to be in that hole. I'm going to be lifting. I'm going to be, somewhere where my face is getting crushed with dirt or whatever, not like just to show like I'm willing to get my hands dirty, to be involved. I remember, we all remember, well, you start out.
Matt, you had it rough. You had a really rough first couple of years because of some of the people you had to work with.
Well, I did. I could think of two people right off the bat, but the issue was, and there were guys who were really looking back, really cruddy installers, and they had a horrible attitude. But there were also people who were excellent installers, like really good. And I remember, I'm a pretty easy guy to work with, you know what I mean? But there's that line where it's like, oh, this guy, he's coming in here, he's taking up space, he's looking over my shoulder, and it's like, you're scratching every peeve they have, and at the same time, you're trying to learn. So it's like, I always like sort of like a little bit of the way, I'm like, okay, I know what I need to get out of this. And if they don't, there was a couple guys who they would take the time to show me stuff, you know what I mean? But then a lot of the time, especially with installs, it's like, okay, they're going to show me the minimum of what I need to do. If I want the knowledge that I need to move forward, I need to effectively like take it where I can and just grind, like, because people like that. And I'm the same way in this regard. It's like, we all respect hard work, and we all respect, I was like, wow, that guy's lifting this, he's breaking his back. It's like, yeah, like that's how you, early on, that's how you cement your place with respect to try to get knowledge. And I just remember like, like the one guy I worked with, like, he's like, all right, here's how you do an outdoor unit. Here's how you put in the condenser. Get this done. That's your job. You know what I mean? Run the line set. And it's like, all right, cool. And I remember, like at that point, Sean, you and Dave were like getting real handy with the benders. And you're like, Matt, you got to do this. This is how you take the measurement for this off the side of the building. And I was like, oh, this is getting great. And once I got to a point where I'd be like, all right, I'm done, I was like, all right, my next goal is to get inside and have him show me how to do the inside. And that was just sort of like, my own way of like, and like, I remember this one guy I worked with. I'm never going to like trash anybody, but it was like, a little bit of a difficult work environment, hostile at times. And I just remember like there was one day, and again, good person, it was just, it could be hostile at times. And I just remember one day, like kind of close to when I was leaving the company, getting ready to leave that company to go elsewhere. But we were finishing up a boiler. And I just remember he was like, hey, let me show you how to do this zoning board. And I'm like, yes, like about time, just like stuff like that, and it's, I think that a lot of times, like if you work as hard as you can, it doesn't matter who you're working with. If they're any sort of decent person, they'll recognize hard work and want to teach you. Some people don't want to teach, but if they don't, then the onus is on you to take that knowledge in your own way.
Yeah. I saw somebody post, and I don't remember the exact quote. It might've been Pat, actually. I don't know, but, he posted something where it said like the problem in our industry is not that, that it's too difficult for any apprentice or, anybody coming in. It's actually the people in here that, push them away or treat them really bad or bully them, whatever. Like that's the difficult part. Cause I've heard from so many people that I've had on here, they said that, yeah, they've had the young guys or people walk away from their company because of how they were treated, not because of how hard the job was itself.
No, it's
Yeah.
absolutely true. And you get a lot of these guys, my experience, Matt's very humble. He did have a very difficult time just with some of the people, the fact that he became such a good installer, became such a good installer, despite a lot of especially the first year is incredible, but for me, I worked with, I worked with no shortage of guys who were difficult, who still taught me things, but later on, I would see guys and they would be colleagues. They'd be, either service technicians or what have you, an unfortunate side note at the company that we're at that, for the most part, there's, almost everybody here cares and wants everyone else to learn and cares about the field, cares about teaching. But at other companies, you would see these old guys who, I don't know if they maybe they seem to have just did the same thing for 20 years and stagnated and were very insecure when they would see young guys coming in who were learning on their own time, getting their own tools, cared about doing it the right way, and when we would upset the balance of what was going on, they would become, they would become aggressive. They didn't like it. They didn't like being challenged. They didn't like questions being asked of like, oh no, well, this is just how we do it. But they wouldn't really understand why they were doing what they were doing. And you would see guys who almost would be afraid for their jobs because they knew deep down that, shoot, I can't get away with just coasting anymore. These young guys are coming in and they actually like this, and I got to either step the game up, and be better, or unfortunately, we would see a lot of guys slander,
Yeah.
the younger guys, just trying to get them away, trying, get the customers to mistrust them and just sabotaging,
We do things a different way now. We try to train you guys. We have a senior tech right now who I'm actually proud when he started saying, I was watching HVACR survival or HVACR videos because he wanted to learn more. And I'm like, that's great. I was like, that's what I do. That's what I want you to do. That's great. He goes and looks up all these manuals now. He's like training himself. I'm like, good. You're an older tech, but you're doing all these things, that everybody's into now, which is like online learning on your own time.
Yeah, it's so nice how much free knowledge there is out there, and how, you know what I mean? Like there's people with like little tech tips and tricks, and then there's guys showing like, oh, when I do a boiler, I do this. Like this is the inclination for like a steam trap or something. Like anyone, like
Yeah. So
to mention all the YouTube and manuals that are out there.
So really quick, yeah, because you mentioned that you had it rough, Matt, or a little rougher, right? You've had your difficulties when you got into the trade, but you stuck with it. You did your own thing.
There's always a couple bad apples around, but that's any job. It makes it hard, but it's one of those things where when I recognized, hey, this sucks, I'm miserable, but like I was bound and determined. I'm like, I gotta catch up to those guys. I gotta get competitive. I don't know anything about anything. Or like, hey, maybe I'm feeling good about, what I can do construction wise, but maybe I want to learn a little bit of service. I want to know why I'm running and landing these two wires where they're supposed to go. You know what I mean? Because I don't know any of that. And it's just like, I really had a spot that I wanted to go, and I just always kind of wanted to improve and not stagnate. And I'm still like that. There's still, we never stop learning. There's so much out there, and this field is huge and it's getting bigger. And, I saw that, and it's like, okay, I don't want these guys, these few bad apples, to be the reason that my career and my objectives suffer. You know what I'm saying? Like, I always just kind of wanted to, like, no matter who I was working with, it's like, well, if you don't want to teach me, that's okay. I'm going to, pay attention and take what I need. And I'm going to try to learn on my own time and apply you know what I mean?
So that reminds me what I was trying to say is you had it rough. I had it rough because I had to learn from older guys. That I had one good one that gave me some tips, but I don't want to say he cut corners, but he was very, very out of the box thinking, which also does help, right? I can get some stuff running without, when I don't have the parts or when I don't have, whatever, or like he's taught me so many workarounds, which is great. But the benefit now with my guys is I'm trying to train them my way and teach them my way. And then I'm giving them like what to look out for, because they're going to have a benefit of possibly not running into those issues because, we're here, me, my dad, and my brother's kind of doing the maintenance department for us now because that has blown up too. We have so many contracts now, but like they have the benefit of, hey, I've been through it, but let me show you what not to do, right? Even my brother had that benefit because he's been there with me when I struggle, but a lot of the times, he sees what I do or he learns from what I've done, and I'm just trying to make it. I don't want to hold their hand, but I'm trying to make it easier for them because there's no reason for them to suffer. Like we have everything that we need. I'm trying to outfit them. A lot of the guys right now have probes. I was like, just go for it. I don't need you on analogs. I'm not that kind of guy that makes you learn on this or that. Like, if you want to know how that works, learn it on your own time or ask questions when we're there. If you want to know more about, because our apprentices are checking superheat and subcool and everything. And I've been impressed because I go to a call. We were working on an old walk-in box, and all of a sudden I started asking questions because I want to get up to speed. And then he's like, "Oh, my superheats is my." I'm like, "You checked superheat?" I'm like, in my head, I'm like doing a little clap, right? I'm like, "Awesome." And
Awesome.
once he gave me all the information, I kind of told him what to tweak, and we went from there. I think on that one I had to explain to him like how to adjust, the TXV, but everything else he had it hooked up and checked, and he was good about it. So that's always great. I'm not that kind of tech that will make it hard on the guy.
Well, there's nothing better than that, than when you get a call for tech support from like a younger guy and he's like, "Hey, I'm here, I'm dealing with this.
I got everything.
My saturation's this, my superheat's that, I got this for incoming voltage, my discharge area is that, my incoming area is that." They run the list of all the numbers already. They're ready when they call you, and that's so huge. They've already tried to figure out what's going on, or they're just hitting a roadblock, But yeah, that's everything, is you got to get those numbers before you even, because otherwise you're going to just start spinning your wheels.
Like I said, I used to have to do everything, and they've been so great. Now, and just the other week, I was making fun of us because I think my dad had something, but my dad has had his conditions. He was hospitalized maybe 2 years ago now, and me and the older tech were like sick. Like I got it from my kids. I don't know where he got it from, and I was like, all the old guys are out of commission because I'm up there now too, and the young guys were running all the calls and taking care of what we needed to get done, right? So I was like, this is great to see. So, I've been telling my dad, I was like, you, me, and that senior tech, we can let go of the reins a little bit. Let these guys, just train them, let them go do what they need to do, help them when they need it, and, just be there for them. Because now we're those mentors or, senior techs to help them out. And the other day I had a call that I just really, it was a walk-in box with like inches from the ceiling tile, because it was a walk-in box with the condenser on top. I got up there, I'm crawling around. I have a bad knee because I tore my ACL when I was younger and botched surgery, but that's a whole other thing. But I had a hard time. The thing was inches of ice buildup. And I was like, the only way I can do it is a water hose. So, I was trying to go back and forth because I had to clear out the drain as well, the drain pan, because it was just overfilling and making a mess. I was like, I don't want that to happen. So one of our younger guys stopped by, and he jumped up there and he's like, I'll do it. He's like, don't worry about it. And he took care of it. I got to go sit down. That's one of the restaurants that we have that the older lady is super nice, because some refrigeration guy was taking advantage of her, and we kind of got in there, and we started getting work there. She always brings us breakfast and stuff like that. She's like, go eat. I was like, okay, I guess the apprentice has this, right? Like he'll take care of it. I'll go and have a little break myself. So it's good to see the guys jumping in there. That's what I like to see.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that.
I heard a few things on Pat's podcast. What are some difficult calls that you guys have had, or some moments?
Oh man,
I got a couple. I got a fresh moment for you. So, I got one, Sean. If you want to go after me, and then I actually, I got a couple. I mean, dude, a bunch come to mind. The freshest one was the other day. I get a call. They're like, hey, we got a compressor for you. You go swap it out. I'm like, all right. So I go there, I get there with the compressor, I hook up, I pull all my gas out. I got like maybe 13 pounds out of the 18 that's supposed to be in there. I'm like, oh, that's weird. We're a little short on gas. So I look in on, it's an RTU, and I look in at the evaporator, and the front of it is just coated with oil. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh, I already had the new compressor in. So so I inflate it with nitrogen, and every single connection on this suction header was leaking. On the opposite side, every single U-bend had like micro leaks. The thing was from like 2010 or 2011, like old, but not like the oldest, but like it was in the kitchen area. So it was getting whatever like steam and chemicals were coming up.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, oh, dude, it was so bad. They had a second stage that was operational. So we did what we could to get them running, but it was like, dude, like,
And that's one of the things that I try to teach my guys, because like you don't leave the customer without trying, right? So like we've had those where and I've gone to help and they're already like, well, we can't do anything. We're going to shut it down. I'm like, did you check if you can run on one stage, do that, get them by. So that's what we've been trying to teach them as well. Like there are little things that you can do to get the customer by until you can get that part or whatever repair scheduled. And that's always a good thing, because some guys will leave and just leave it off or leave it running on dry, like with no gas in it. I've seen that before too. And I'm like, dude, you're going to kill that compressor.
Yeah, brand new. So that unit we did end up slating for replacement in its whole as a whole, because it's in rough shape, and we're like, all right, well, I'm looking up, I see oil stains on the second stage, even though it's like running, and I'm like, all right. So we did end up slating it for replacement. Like they have one stage running AC to get them through the weekend, but tomorrow someone's going out there with a crane. So we're taking care of that. But just to springboard off of what you're saying, there's an account that I know pretty well that we do that's a school, and they have this one unit that's been shut off at its disconnect since, it's been shut off at its disconnect for like since before I got there. There's a bunch of problems, but we sort of cannibalize it for parts sometimes. And I had one of the guys, he's been at our company a little bit now, but he's an apprentice, and he went there. He's like, all right, I found, the ignition board, the igniter board for the heating side of this rooftop unit. It's bad. It's definitely bad. I'm like, all right, that's cool. There's another unit there that you could probably rob to get them running. And it was the day we had just had so much snow, and I know it was like, it's a rough roof to be on in the snow. So he took his time, he was careful, and he ended up swapping out. It's so funny, he's frozen. So I had one where it was just a dumb compressor. We're walking across the roof, me and an apprentice, and he's hauling all my stuff up the side of the roof. This was 3 years ago, I think, at this point now. This is the first one that comes to mind. But he's hauling all the stuff up the side of the roof, and it's a very delicate roof. This customer loves their roof, So we had cardboard all laid out. We have to get this compressor and all the equipment across the roof. Oh, there we go. Hey, sorry, I don't know what happened. Matt, you're gonna have to hop. You're gonna have to wait till I'm done, because I'm telling my story now. But we laid cardboard all across this roof. We have to get the compressor a long, long way. But he's hauling everything up the side of the roof, and God bless him. He's already kind of in hot water with the company. He's made some bad mistakes. And I'm just like, listen, buddy, I got a whole way we're gonna get this big compressor across this roof. Just wait for me to get up there. Don't do anything. This is very sketchy. Anyway, we finally get everything up there, and I get up to the roof. I'm walking up scaffolding. I get up to the roof, and he's already walking across the roof with this compressor. And he has like a dolly, like a hand truck, because of how big this compressor is. And I had like straps. We were going to make this thing secure. He's walking with it without any straps, anything secure. The thing falls through the dolly and goes right through the roof. And I don't yell at my guys. I never, but I had to turn and walk away. That was one of the ones.
Yeah.
I was like,
That's me too.
I was like, okay. I was like, I got to take 5 minutes. And I came back, and I've never seen a grown man look like he was going to cry like this dude. Like he was this close. And I ended up kind of talking him off the ledge, so to speak. And we ended up having an okay day. We got it taken care of. It was no harm, no foul. But it was one of those things where it was like, man, like, just listen to me. Don't be so quick. You know what I mean? Like, this is a delicate situation. Like, and I'm trying to help you because you're already in hot water. You don't need another mishap. And now we have to make an incident report. And, I felt bad.
Yeah, that's me too. Like I said, I have a senior tech that gets on my nerves sometimes. And if I know it's not going to go anywhere, I take 5 minutes and my dad will tell him, because sometimes we're all on a job site together for like installs or bigger stuff. He's like, "Oh, he's pissed at you because he disappeared. He walked away." So, I know that feeling.
It's good to be like slow to speak, when you're like, I can feel like your temper flaring up.
It doesn't benefit anybody. If I go and start yelling, like, what's that going to do, right? Like, it already happened. And that's kind of been my mindset with everything. I've always been like that. And that's why I said, like, it's what scares me the most is quality control, because I'm not the one doing everything. So if somebody else is doing the work and they make a mistake, then I got to deal with it. So a lot of it, like this year, has been, because I even had to do it with one of the new guys, like damage control. Like, a customer comes to me, has a complaint or has, concerns about something. I got to diffuse it. I got to deal with it. And that's been a lot of me, like this year, just kind of intervening, just checking on a customer, even if nothing happens, just like, how, what'd you think of the work today? Are you good? Anything like that. Cause it was me and my dad for like a long time until we hired those two guys that screwed us over. But that's a whole other thing. It was me and my dad for a majority of it. And like, he did the hot food, I did the HVAC, and we did our own thing. Like, I got control of everything that I did. So I was never used to somebody else doing the work and messing up. If I messed up, I knew how to fix it. Because I've been there before, burning holes through copper, messing up boards, shorting out things, working in a rack system I've never worked on before, shorting out the contactor next to it. Like, I've done so many stupid things, but I can fix it. When it's someone else and I get mad, but like, just walk away, take some time, and you'll get over it.
What were you saying when you got cut off there? The long and short of it was he found the apprentice. He found a bad igniter board, and I knew of another unit that had been shut down for since time immemorial that we would just cannibalize for parts. And I had him go and like put take that heating board, which is effectively identical, put it in the broken one. The unit that was off stayed off, and the unit that was broken got heat, and he was able to write it up like, yeah, like, we got a used part in here that maybe we'll keep on site, but happening again.
That story doesn't want to come out.
I know he's hacking into my thing. Anyway, he got it running, and it was beautiful.
They
were not without heat.
And that's something my dad taught me early on, even doing HVAC. He's like, because we do commercial, like you said, like you might have 2 or 3 in a row that are the same. So not to, unless there was an AC unit that maybe wasn't in use, or like for a space that was like hardly used, whether it's a back room or something like that, like you could steal parts. But he would tell me like, maybe you can go and swap parts and like verify, because this was like early in my career, like verify if it's that part, right? So that was something I learned early on too, was like swapping with, the next unit. And it's something we told our guys just to keep in mind, like if you need to, because they just did that for but it was what do you call that? It's an elderly home. I forgot what they're called. Nursing home.
Yeah.
So they were pissed because there was an AC that went out and it's brand new. So we had to get it under parts under warranty. But for the residents, it was cold recently and that unit wasn't working. So like they were without heat. They were pissed and they were like, there's another AC unit that you guys don't really use. So they were trying to test out some parts because it was some new Daikin that has like some sort of fancy blower motor in there that has a controller. It's a Broad Ocean, something I've never seen, honestly, because I work on a lot of older equipment. But doing some tests, trying to figure out what it was. I think it was a controller for that one. And that's a whole other conversation though. Couldn't get the part. I was like, how the hell do you sell us this equipment and you can't get the damn part? So we were there for like half a day, just trying to get them to find a solution. They finally pulled down a unit for us to take a part off of. And I was like, y'all got to get your shit together or something. Cause I can't stand when you guys sell parts and you don't have you sell units and you don't have the freaking parts to it.
Oh my gosh. Well, a lot of customers will ask like, what brand do you prefer? What kind of system?
The one you can get parts to is always my answer.
And that is always my answer. It's like, well, what's the warranty? And are the parts readily available right now? Can I rebuild this thing right now?
He's like, who's going to know? He's like, just come to us. was like, I know that, but my new guys don't know that. So your
Yeah.
counter guys are scaring them, and then they're going to get us in trouble. And my dad was there like, if we get sued, you get sued. So that ended that conversation real quick.
Yeah, I'm bringing us both down.
So we're here at the end of it. I appreciate you guys for coming on, and this hour kind of flew by, and you know,
It did fly by. It's
we might
really
have to do
fun.
this again at some point. So I appreciate you guys for making the time. If there's anything you guys want to end on to kind of help any guys out in the field or anybody getting into the field, I'll kind of let you guys end on that note.
I would just say never ever be afraid to put your hands in stuff, ask questions. This is going to sound like generic advice, but you know, give yourself an allotted time. You know, if you have an oh crap moment, you know, give yourself that time to try and solve it. But if you give, like, for myself, I usually give myself like an hour. If after an hour I have absolutely no clue, like if I am stumped, that's when I'll make a phone call. But usually in an hour's time, I can get to where I'm in a much better spot and I have a better understanding of the situation. And I would just say, have that for yourself, you know, like make sure you have that standard of, okay, this is all the information I need to get, no matter what it is. This is my time. If I'm not, you know what I mean? Like just pace yourself, but at the same time, don't be afraid to get in there and really try to understand what's going on, because there's so much out there. And the more you know how to work on, the more well-rounded that you'll be, you know, if you're afraid to say yes to stuff.
What I can say for sure, first off, is thank you for having us on. This was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've been
Thank
watching
you.
we've been watching your YouTube channel for a long time. Kraus, Cooling with Kraus. He actually he has two videos two Vito Pro Pack reviews that actually were like the deciding factor on me getting two specific bags over the years. So Cooling with Kraus as well. HVAC Nights, amazing. It's just an extreme thrill to be here with you, man. When you reached out to us originally, we freaked out. I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Like, you know, so thank you for having us. This is awesome. What I want to say to anybody who may be watching this, who's getting into the field, or who's just starting in the field, you know, you're going to be working with people who may want to train you, who may not want to train you, who may be doing things the right way, who may not be doing things the right way. And you're going to know pretty quick if it's the right way. How good you are ultimately is going to be up to you. Most of the knowledge in this field is out there and is really up to you to get it yourself and apply it where necessary. Make yourself as well-rounded as possible. Like Adrian said, if you have the opportunity to work hot side, because guess what? That same sequence of operations, that same theory for combustion is going to be applied in 100 other ways in other things that you work in. But you're only going to be as good as you allow yourself to be, and it takes time. Be patient. Some of the worst mistakes I've made, I say this all the time, but some of the worst mistakes I've ever made in this field were genuinely just because I was rushing and I wasn't giving the problem the time that it deserves.
Always. That it always bites you in the ass. There's no way around it. So like even me, like if I know I have to pick up my kid or whatever it is, because I can do that. I mean, this business comes with entrepreneurship opportunities. You can make your own schedule, your own business. So I make that choice. I have to pick him up, and I would rather put it on pause, do that, go back to work later, and take my time. So I give myself, it's kind of like what you were saying, Matt. I give myself, you know, a time period where I need to figure it out. And if I don't, then I need to either ask for help or go look for, you know, a manual, or go look for something that'll help me, and then go back and finish it. I'm not going to try and like, you know, just do whatever to it and start changing ports and all this other crap. Right. I've seen that a lot. And, so like for me, it's also about slowing down. I think when I started slowing down is when that really started to click for me, like that it, you know, you could figure out anything, but I give myself a certain amount of time. And then cause that's one thing my dad taught me was like, if you don't know, go find the answer. And if you're having trouble, you know, just tell the customer that you'll be back or that you need to go look for something. He's like, be honest. Cause the last thing you need is a customer asking you every 5 minutes if it's working. And you're like, yeah, don't worry about it. And then you don't get it working. And then they're like, well, why'd you lie to us? Right. So like that's a whole other thing. Like I've learned so much in my early years that I take with me, and I tell the guys like slow down, take your time. I'm paying you, a full day's worth. You can take that time to do less calls if it means no
Yeah.
callbacks. That's my main thing.
Absolutely. It's good because you get it right the first time. The only callback you get is either a thank you or, hey, something else is broken. You know what I mean? Can you do what you did to the first thing? And the other thing I would say too is like that I've found to be helpful. And I tell guys, man, if it's a big problem, if you are overwhelmed, you open up a door, it's full of spaghetti. You know what I mean? Like full of wire spaghetti. Like if it's big, make it smaller, right?
Yeah.
Electricity, single phase, three phase. It follows the same rules. An aha moment for me that I had was this guy named Eric was showing me a defrost timer and like the layout of the wiring on that. And he was like, man, this looks like a lot, but in the end, it's all just switches and loads, normally open, normally closed. It's all just like everything's a switch on another switch on a load on another switch. And that was
what clicked for me when I figured out things were switches.
Everything. I was like, oh my gosh, I understand. It was like the Matrix. I was like, normally closed, no problem, right? Like de-energized, like it was beautiful. And so that was one of those things where I'm like, okay, well, if everything's sort of, I mean, obviously you got to know what phase you're working with and what you got, but everything is like the rules on stuff isn't going to change. Combustion is combustion. That may look visually different for, a different fuel type or something like that. But it's like in the end, okay, we have therms, we have heat, we have the elements we need for combustion. Refrigeration. When I stepped into refrigeration, I've been doing HVAC for a while, and it's like, okay, well, this is just the same cycle. All we're effectively doing is, because what we don't care, it's like, oh, well, we're looking for this pressure. No, we're looking for temperatures, right, across the board for medium, low
temperatures.
Yeah,
it's
like
all about temperatures.
And refrigeration takes advantage of the state of refrigerant at any different point in the system, and you just apply it to be used to benefit the system elsewhere, like for head pressure controls or for hot discharge. We could go, dude. We could do another.
It's a whole.
It's so much.
I always say if you can do one, you can do the other. It's just the safeties in between conditions that are trying to be met. Other than that, it's the same thing. The good thing is you can do that. If you just want to do refrigeration, if you just want to do AC, you just want to do residential, you can do any of that. That is always going to be there. But the more you know, the more you apply yourself to, the more you'll get out of it. Money-wise, better jobs, all that stuff. So just kind of want to end on that. Appreciate you guys for taking the time. So I was excited to have you guys on. I think this has been a great conversation. A lot of good things that we hit on. A whole bunch of other rabbit holes we can get down, I'm sure, on another episode. So thanks again, guys.
Adrian, thank you so much for having us. Thank you.
All right. Everybody watching and listening, I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys on the next one.